One of the most celebrated and award-winning shows of the last decade is a show called The Walking Dead, which is a show about a group of people who are living in the wake of a zombie apocalypse. People are just trying to survive and get by while the whole world and society sort of falls by the wayside. If you've seen the show, or you've at least seen some commentary around the show, one of the things you might know is that people, sometimes watchers, get frustrated with the show because an episode or two or three will go by and there won't be a lot of zombie action. Like a couple zombies, but not a whole lot. The show gets into the drama of this relationship or that relationship or this dynamic between these two groups, and not about the zombies. But here's the thing, is that if you end up watching a couple seasons of the show, one of the things that you should realize is that the show isn't about the zombies. I mean, the zombies are sort of the conceit of the show. They're the background of the show. They're the challenge that the protagonists and the antagonists are trying to solve and live through. But the same dynamics and relationships and issues that the protagonists and antagonists go through could, this show happens to be about zombies. You could do the same thing in a show about an alien invasion, or a show about the bubonic plague in medieval Europe, or a show about a nuclear disaster in Soviet Ukraine. I mean, name a million different issues, problems where society begins to break down, and this show could do that. The story of the relationships could bear that. This show isn't about the zombies. It's about the people. And sometimes the people are incredible and they're beautiful. And then it's a story of love and perseverance and hope. And some of the characters, particularly the antagonists, do the most heinous and horrible things. And so it's a show that asks us, what is human? What does it mean to be a human being? We as a species, we can meet the most incredible challenges with love and grace, or we can meet those same challenges with things that are horrific. This week's gospel lesson is a story that's typically called the Gerasene demoniac. So in the story, Jesus takes a boat across the Sea of Galilee, and when he lands, there's a guy who greets him. He's the welcoming committee, and this guy is what's called a demoniac. He has a demon or multiple demons living in him. He's also chained up in a graveyard. Like, he's not even living in the town. He's living on the outskirts of town in the graveyard. Graveyards in the ancient world were never in the town. They were always outside of town. You didn't want to be around your dead. You wanted your dead sort of off there. He's living out there. So he's chained up. He's in the graveyard and he's naked. The demon starts talking with Jesus. Jesus asks the demon, "What's your name?" The demon replies, "Legion." Now, that's probably not just his name. It's probably also just a descriptor. Legion was a very specific word in the ancient world. It was a Roman military term. Remember, the Roman military was occupying Israel at this time, and a legion referred to a unit of soldiers, somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 people. So when this demon says, "My name is Legion," he's probably not just saying his name. He's probably saying, "I'm a legion of demons." This guy is packed with evil. The demons speak to Jesus and they say, "Son of the Most High God, please don't send us to the abyss. Don't send us to hell." And then they say, "Send us into those pigs over there." And so the demons, Jesus does what the demons want, which is kind of weird. And he casts the demons into the pigs. The pigs run down the hill and they drown themselves in the Sea of Galilee. The people of the town are then incredibly relieved. They are overwhelmed with compassion and joy that this neighbor of theirs, this guy who had been possessed by a demon, was now free and he could live among them. They were just so overjoyed. Yeah, I'm totally kidding about that. They weren't overjoyed at all. In fact, their response is kind of crazy. They are afraid. They're afraid. And it's unclear exactly what they're afraid of. I mean, Jesus did just kill a whole bunch of pigs by sending the demons there. And so this is a Gentile area. Farming of pigs was probably part of their economic system, and Jesus just, a whole bunch of them just died. So maybe they're afraid about their economic system, but probably more likely they're scared because Jesus overturned their level of comfort. They had gotten to the point where they were comfortable with this guy living over there, naked, chained up in the graveyard. And now Jesus has completely turned the tables over, and now the guy's living amongst them and he's in his right mind. And that's just weird. Change is hard. It was easier for them to have him over there, and now he's here. And so they ask him to leave. And so Jesus leaves. I use the story in a Bible study this week. Once a month I go to a nursing home and I lead a Bible study there. And it's an incredibly chatty group. And so what I usually do is I read the story and I say, what jumped out at you? What words, phrases, what questions do you have? So I read the story and they didn't say anything. They just sort of sat back and were like, I don't know. They didn't want to talk to me. So I read the story again, thinking, oh, maybe they just weren't paying attention. So I read the story again. And again, they were just like, and as I started to coax some things out of them, they started saying things like, I don't know, the story's weird. It's about demons, and demons ask Jesus to do something and he does it for them. And, it's like they had no connection to the story. And I get it. I mean, it is a weird story. I mean, not many of us, we know the world's full of evil, but not many of us know people who are packed with evil and who are, off living in a graveyard, screaming and yelling all the time. It is weird. But here's the thing. Just like The Walking Dead isn't a show about zombies, this story isn't about the demons. The demons, this manifestation of evil, infested and infected this man's life and changed it in horrendous ways. But the demons didn't keep him naked. The demons didn't keep him chained up. The demons didn't keep him in the graveyard. The people of this town, this man's neighbors, could have cared for him. They could have made sure that he was, even with all that was going on in him, they could have made sure he was well fed. They could have made sure he was clothed. They could have made him know without a measure of doubt that he was loved and valued. They could have cared for him. They could have had compassion for him. But they kept him naked and chained up in the graveyard. And then when he's finally delivered of his condition, it's like they're miffed. That, they aren't, the situation has changed and they're not glad for this guy that his life has changed. They're frightened because their lives have changed, because now they're going to have to live in proximity to this guy. When you focus in the story on the demons, you can go, I don't know, this just seems weird and I can't connect with it. But if you step back and you realize that this is a story about a group of self-centered, narcissistic people who fail to have compassion on someone in need and who are completely allergic to change, well, gosh, all of a sudden it hits a little closer to home. And I think this story isn't about those other people who are self-centered and narcissistic and allergic to change. I think this story is challenging us to realize that that's very much a part of who we are too. That we can, some of us, most of us, all of us at some point in our lives, be completely consumed with ourselves. And sometimes to the point where we're not able to have compassion on someone else. Maybe we think they deserve it. Maybe we just don't want to get involved. And we can absolutely be people who get comfortable keeping people at arm's length. We can be absolutely people who are more comfortable with someone chained up over there, and maybe physical chains, but certainly metaphorical chains. We keep people sort of locked up, locked down, and over there, and that's just easier. This is a story that challenges us to be better. I mean, this literally is a story about a bunch of neighbors who didn't love their neighbor. And therefore, it's a story which is meant to compel us to love our neighbors. Who is kept on the outskirts of society? Who is kept locked up? Who are we more comfortable allowing to be invisible? And therefore, who needs love? Therefore, who needs compassion? How can we take the focus on ourselves and shift it onto them? Jesus walks into this. As Luke tells the story, as soon as his feet hit the ground, he's laser focused on this guy in need. And when he's done, he hops back on the boat and he leaves. I guarantee you there are people in your life, whether you see them or not, that are on the outskirts and who just need to know that they are loved, who just need to know that there's some hope, who just need to know that if they persevere, we will persevere with them. We'll hold them by the hand. We'll be their cheering section. And we will love them. The story seems like a scary one because it's about demons, a whole bunch of them. But the story is really scary because it's a mirror that's designed to sit in front of our face and say, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be a follower of Jesus? What does it mean to be an agent of reconciliation and love and compassion? And when it's needed, change. And how do we do that? Like today.